In the old stories, love was never gentle. It was a force, wild, divine, and dangerous. The gods felt it. The mortals bled for it. And when it ended, it did not end quietly. They call them love stories. But what they left out were the screams, the poison, the curses, the silence that followed betrayal. These aren't tales of happily ever after. They're tombstones with names carved in marble and tears still drying on the edges. In Greek mythology, love doesn't save you. It tests you. And if you're lucky, it only ruins one life. These aren't romances. They're warnings about what happens when gods desire, when mortals believe promises, when forever was never meant to last. In the heavens above the mortal world, there stood a throne, a golden seat of power shared by two of the most powerful beings in all mythology, Zeus, king of the gods, and Hera, queen of Olympus. Their marriage shaped the fate of gods and men. It was not a tale of harmony. It was a union forged in power, strained by betrayal, and locked in an endless cycle of revenge. Hera and Zeus were not strangers. They were siblings, children of the Titans, Cronus and Rhea. After Zeus freed his siblings from Cronus's belly, he rose to power as king of the gods. And then he pursued Hera. She resisted. To win her over, Zeus transformed himself into a wounded cuckoo bird. When Hera held the tiny creature to her chest, Zeus shifted back into his true form and violated her. To restore her honor, Hera agreed to marry him. Their wedding was said to be the grandest celebration Olympus had ever seen. Gaia gifted Hera a tree of golden apples, a gift that would one day trigger a war. And from that moment on, they ruled together. But ruling together did not mean peace. Zeus's affections wandered, again and again. He pursued mortal women, goddesses, and nymphs. And with each new lover, Hera's fury grew. But she rarely punished Zeus himself. She punished the women. Semele, a mortal woman carrying Zeus's child, was tricked by Hera into demanding Zeus show her his full godhood. The sight incinerated her. From the ashes, Zeus rescued the unborn Dionysus and stitched him into his thigh until he was ready to be born. Io, a priestess of Hera, was transformed by Zeus into a white cow to hide her. Hera, seeing through the deception, claimed the cow and placed Argus, a 100-eyed giant, to watch her. Even after Argus was slain, Hera sent a gadfly to torment Io endlessly. Leto, another lover of Zeus, was banished from giving birth on any land or sea. She wandered in agony until the floating island of Delos took pity on her. There, she gave birth to Apollo and Artemis. And then, there was Alcmene, mother of Heracles. Hera sent serpents into his crib. He strangled them. Years later, she drove him into madness. In that madness, Heracles killed his wife and children. To atone, he performed the 12 labors. But Hera was no silent victim. She plotted. She rebelled. Alongside Poseidon and Athena, Hera once conspired to overthrow Zeus. They bound him in chains while he slept. But the sea nymph Thetis summoned Briareus, a 100-handed giant, who freed the king of the gods. In retaliation, Zeus hung Hera from the sky with golden chains until she swore never to rebel again. Their conflict spilled beyond Olympus. At the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite quarreled over a golden apple marked "to the fairest." When Zeus refused to choose between them, the task fell to Paris of Troy. Each goddess offered a bribe. Hera promised him dominion over all kingdoms. Athena promised wisdom and skill in battle. Aphrodite offered him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen. He chose Aphrodite. Hera never forgave the insult. When war broke out between Troy and Greece, Hera became the Greeks' most devoted ally. During the Trojan War, Hera deceived Zeus once again. She borrowed Aphrodite's magical girdle to seduce him, distracting the king of the gods and allowing the Greeks to strike. So what became of them, the king and queen of Olympus? They never separated. They were never truly at peace. Zeus continued his affairs. Hera continued her vengeance. But neither gave up the throne. Neither let go of the crown. For all their wars, their humiliations, their betrayals, they stayed bound together, not by love, but by power. And that was Olympus. Not a heaven, not a sanctuary, but a kingdom ruled by fear, loyalty, and the silence between storms. Hera remained queen until the end. Zeus, forever the storm. And their legacy? It lived on, in every broken heart the gods ever touched. Before she was a queen, she was a daughter, Persephone, goddess of spring, bringer of blossoms, child of Demeter and Zeus. She walked through the world untouched by shadow, a girl surrounded by flowers, watched closely by her mother, who guarded her like a treasure. But beneath the earth, someone else was watching. Hades, god of the underworld, ruled over the realm of the dead. He was not evil, but he was distant, feared, respected, alone. He saw Persephone, desired her, and resolved to take her as his queen. But he knew Demeter would never allow it. So he turned to his brother, Zeus, king of the gods. And Zeus said yes. With divine consent, Hades set his plan into motion. One day, while Persephone gathered flowers in a field near Nysa, she spotted a bloom unlike any other. A narcissus, tall, strange, perfect. She reached for it, and the earth split open. From beneath the soil, Hades emerged in his chariot, pulled by immortal black horses. He seized her, and then they were gone. Her mother, Demeter, waited and waited. But Persephone never came home. For 9 days and nights, Demeter wandered the earth with a burning torch in each hand. No god would answer her. She asked Helios, the all-seeing sun. He told her the truth. Zeus had given Persephone to Hades. Demeter's grief turned to fury. She abandoned her divine duties. The harvest withered. The trees bore no fruit. Famine spread across the world. Humanity began to die. When the cries of starving mortals reached Olympus, Zeus intervened. He sent Hermes, the messenger god, to the underworld. He brought one command: let Persephone return. By then, Persephone had eaten just a few pomegranate seeds. But that was enough. Because she had tasted the fruit, she could not fully leave. A compromise was reached. Persephone would spend part of the year with her mother, and part with her husband. And so, the seasons were born. When Persephone is with Demeter, the world blooms. When she descends to Hades, the world mourns. Winter comes. This is the oldest explanation of the turning earth, but it is also something more. Was it love? Was it abduction? The myths do not agree. Some say Persephone grew to love Hades, that she found power in the shadows, that she ruled beside him with grace and fury. Others say she was never given a choice, that she became queen because she had to, that even goddesses can be stolen. But all agree on this. Persephone changed. She became something the gods had never seen before. A goddess of spring and a queen of death. One foot in the light, one in the dark, forever torn between two worlds. Her story is the story of every threshold, between what was chosen and what was taken. Persephone didn't stay the girl in the meadow. She became the queen who walks between life and death. Before the war, before the 1,000 ships, Paris was a shepherd on Mount Ida. He lived in quiet exile, raised by herdsmen, his true identity hidden. He was the lost son of King Priam of Troy. With him was Inuni, daughter of the river god Kibrin, a naiad, gifted in prophecy and in healing. She loved him, and he loved her. They lived simply. No throne, no bloodshed, no gods, only the forest, the river, and each other. But peace would not last. The gods found him, and they offered a choice: to judge the fairest, Hera, queen of power, Athena, goddess of glory, or Aphrodite, who promised him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. He chose Aphrodite, and for that, he would win Helen of Sparta, already a queen, already wed. He left Mount Ida. He left Inuni and left the forest for Helen. And she, who had seen it in vision, begged him not to go. But he didn't listen, and he left. The war began. 10 years went by. 10 years without her. 10 years since he abandoned the only one who had loved him before he was a prince. During the Trojan War, wounded by Heracles' bow, with poison in his blood, Paris stumbled from the battlefield. No priest, no healer, no god could save him. He remembered her. The nymph, the river's daughter, the one he had left behind. But her heart had grown cold. She remembered his vow. She remembered the ship. She remembered Helen. She turns him away, sealing his fate. Paris is carried back to Troy. Helen weeps at the gate, but it's too late. Paris had died, not on the battlefield, but from a wound she could have healed. And when Inanni heard of it, grief swallowed her anger. She came down from the mountain, and when she saw the flames rising, she stepped into the flames. Inanni, first love of Paris, not slain by war or gods, but by a love once given and never returned. The story of Orpheus, the greatest musician of myth, and Eurydice, his bride, is a tragic tale. Eurydice, in some myths, is a dryad, a spirit of the forest. Shortly after their wedding, she was bitten by a serpent. She died without warning. In his grief, Orpheus descended into the underworld, the realm of the dead, to bring her back. He sang so mournfully that even Hades and Persephone were stirred. They granted him a single condition: he could lead her back into the land of the living, but he must not look back until they were both above the earth. In silence, they ascended. Orpheus reached the threshold, but he could no longer bear the doubt. He turned, and she vanished forever. He had defied death. He had found her, but in a single moment, he lost her again. Some love stories end not in betrayal, but in a single, fatal glance. After losing Eurydice a second time, Orpheus swore off the love of women and spent his days wandering, singing, and mourning. Eventually, he was killed by a group of Maenads, frenzied female followers of Dionysus. This is the story of Ariadne, daughter of King Minos of Crete, and Theseus, the Prince of Athens. In ancient times, after Athens was defeated in war, the city was forced to send 7 young men and 7 young women every 9 years to Crete, a tribute to be fed to the Minotaur, a half-man, half-bull beast who lived in the labyrinth. The labyrinth was a vast and winding maze built by Daedalus, so complex that no one who entered ever returned. Theseus volunteered to be one of the tributes. His goal, to slay the Minotaur and end the tribute forever. Ariadne, seeing Theseus, fell in love with him. She decided to help him. She gave him a ball of thread, known in some sources as a gift from Daedalus. She told him to tie one end at the entrance of the labyrinth and unravel it as he went in, so he could find his way out afterward. Theseus entered the labyrinth. He slayed the Minotaur. Using the thread, he found his way back. That night, Theseus took Ariadne with him, and together they sailed away from Crete. They stopped at the island of Naxos. Ariadne fell asleep on the shore. While she slept, Theseus left. He sailed away, abandoning her. When Ariadne awoke, she found herself alone. Theseus was gone. According to the poet Catullus, she stood on the shore, watching his ship vanish, her hair unbound, calling his name, weeping, with no answer. Different ancient sources offer different reasons for his abandonment. Ariadne was the daughter of King Minos, the enemy Theseus just defeated. By bringing her home, he risked political backlash in Athens. The historian Plutarch wrote that Theseus left her on the island because the god Dionysus told him to. Dionysus appeared to Theseus in a dream and demanded Ariadne be left behind because she was fated to become his wife. In Homer's Odyssey, it is mentioned that Ariadne's life was taken by Artemis on the island, at the god's command. Other accounts say Dionysus found her, took her as his wife, and made her a goddess, placing her crown in the sky as the constellation Corona Borealis. But whatever followed, the fact remains. Ariadne, who helped Theseus survive the labyrinth and defeat the Minotaur, was left behind. And Theseus, who she loved, along with the ship, was gone. Hera was a priestess of Aphrodite who lived alone in a tower by the sea, and Leander, a young man from the opposite shore. They met during the sacred rites. He saw her and loved her. She returned his gaze and her heart, but their love was forbidden. Hera, a priestess of the goddess of love, was bound by duty, and Leander by distance. So each night, they met in secret. Between the sea and the stars, they stole moments that the world would never allow. Every night, Leander swam across the Hellespont to reach her, guided only by the lamp she placed in her tower window. One night, a storm came. The wind rose. The flame went out. Leander swam blind, calling to her through the storm. He was lost to the sea in the black waters between them. At dawn, Hera found him, broken by the waves. She climbed the tower and threw herself into the sea, so they would never be parted again. These stories are thousands of years old. They come from temples, poems, and ruins, and yet they still speak to us. Not because we believe in gods with thunderbolts, but because we understand betrayal, longing, grief. Whether it's a goddess abandoned, a hero who couldn't wait, or a love that came too late. These myths remind us that love has always been complicated. Some of these couples weren't really couples. Some of this love wasn't really love. But all of it left a mark on the gods, on the mortals, and on the world they imagined. That's what myths do. They give shape to things we don't always know how to explain. Not to excuse them, but to remember them. Because when we understand the stories we inherited, we understand the ones we're still living. What do you think? Which story stayed with you the most? Do you think Persephone was a victim or something else? If you made it this far, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to join the Mystic Seekers. See you next time.